Okay, most people have found a seat now. So, for this evening's talk, I wanted to discuss one aspect of a very strong Buddhist theme of letting go of attachments, and especially letting go of attachments to what happened in the past. Because no matter how much we talk about little this way and that way, letting go of the past, still we still linger in some of the very painful experiences we've had. There's a saying which I've been mentioning a lot over the last year concerning the future, when if you want something more, you can't enjoy what you already have. Very profound saying. If you want something more, you can't enjoy what you already have. So to let go of wanting for things in the future so you can enjoy the present. It's a weekend now. If you're not working on this weekend, if you're just planning what you're going to do next, you can't enjoy where you are. But the same goes of the past. If we can't let go of the past, we can't free ourselves from having to figure out and work out and settle the issues of the past. Also, we can't be free in the present moment. We can't enjoy life. We can't have peace because we're still lingering, figuring out and being sometimes even tortured by what happened in the past. So today I'm going to be discussing just some of the more profound ways of letting go of the past. Now, I've given many similes of the how to let go of the past, in previous talks, and I'm not going to let go of those similes. I'm just going to bring them up just so that it completes the talk. This basically was based on an incident with my master Ajahn Chah walking back on alms round one day. And my master Ajahn Chah just stopped by the side of the road, picked up a stick. And he asked me, how heavy is the stick? Before I could answer, he'd thrown it away. Isn't it amazing? I've actually done something instead of just talking. He said, as soon as you throw it away, it's not heavy anymore. It's only heavy when you keep holding it. And so it's obvious that all the pain and problems which happened to you in the past, again, it's only heavy when you keep holding it. But it's so hard to throw things away. And we're not really used to being able to do that. We don't know how to do that. And so he continued later on, with the story of the two chicken farmers. I'll do this very quickly. It's a very famous story. But many of you come for the first time. Two chicken farmers. First chicken farmer went into the chicken shed early in the morning to collect the produce of the night before. He took the basket, went into the shed and filled the basket full of chicken shit, the little black pellets, and he left the eggs in the shed to rot. We brought the shit back into the house where it stank the whole house out. He was a dumb chicken farmer and he didn't really know what was really to do. He was stupid. Chicken farmer number 2 went into the shed. He filled the basket full of eggs. He left the shit in the shed to rot. It became valuable fertilizer later, but you don't bring that into the house with you. He brought the eggs back into the house where he could make a lovely omelette for his family and sell the rest of the eggs in the market for cash. That's a smart chicken farmer. And the meaning of that story, Ajahn Chah would often say, and I've said this in so many conferences, he said that this simile, what it means is when you go and collect the produce of your past, when you think about all the things which have happened to you in your life, or even just today or the last week, what do you put in your basket and bring home with you? Are you shit collectors or egg collectors? And of course you're laughing because you're all shit collectors. You know that, I know that. All the beautiful things which happened to us this last week, we left that in the past to rot and we bring back all the mistakes. So this is one of the first things which we need to know, that it does not require, it should not be done to keep the pain of the past coming into the future. So I was contemplating this 4 little steps in letting go of the past. First of all, to know it should be done. It's not something you should keep, the pain of the past. Number 2, that it can be done. And after you know it can be done, have some ceremony or some act, something to do so you do let go of the past. And then lastly, realizing what it's like to be free of the past, so you don't need to pick it up in the future. So this first step, knowing it should be done. And this is one of the problems, because a lot of people, they don't want to let go of the past. I first came across this. They just want to keep collecting the pain of the past. One of the first times I came across this was when I was teaching at a grief and loss seminar, with Dennis some years ago at Observation City. And I gave lots and lots of wonderful teachings about how to let go of grief, mentioning the story of my father dying. And again, this is an old story, so I'll say it in brief again, about how his life to me was similar to a concert. He had died only after 16 years. And just like the end of every concert I used to attend in London as a young man, I never cried once after a great concert. Even though when the concert had ended, I knew that I wouldn't be able to listen to that music again. Still, I never felt sad. I was grateful to have been there at the time for a beautiful concert of 16 years with my father. So I gave that beautiful simile of a concert. You can read it in more depth in the book, Opening the Door of Your Heart. It's helped many, many people. And I've taught that as a way of letting go of grief. Grief is looking at the past, looking what's been taken away from you. And the solution is not just looking what's been taken away from you, looking what you've had. Collecting the eggs, not the shit. You've had a wonderful time. Remember that. Don't just think of the death or the suicide or the fact they're not there anymore. If you can do things like that, this is no pain anymore. I never cried when my father died. Never cried ever. And just a few days ago in Malaysia, I was doing a sharing of merit ceremony for my mother and father. It's a beautiful thing to do, even though they died such a long time ago, my father. So you don't need to do that. But when I taught that, at the end of my session, this woman came up to me and she blasted me. She was so upset. She scolded me, said, "Don't you ever do that again. Don't you ever tell me not to be grieving. Don't you ever try and take away my suffering again." And basically that's what she was saying. She was so attached to her suffering. In other words, she was actually getting benefit out of it by going to all these conferences, and people say, "Oh, you poor thing, what a terrible tragedy it was." I think she lost her daughter. I think it was if I remember correctly, one of the Claremont killings. She was the mother of one of those girls. No one actually knows who did this. But in Claremont some years ago, there was a series of murders. Young ladies disappeared, their bodies were found later on, and that was one of the mothers. And she had almost made a persona out of being the grieving mother and getting a lot of sense of identity, sympathy, and actually you could see she was getting many benefits. And I was saying, no, let it go. It's very similar to when you're a prisoner and you've been in jail for 20, 30, 40 years. And you say, let go of that, walk out, be free. But we're afraid of leaving jail because we've been used to that. And when we've been used to it, we became so attached to it, we're afraid of letting it go. And this is one of the problems. First of all, we say we should leave the prison of the past. We deserve to leave the prison. It's sometimes scary. And that particular woman, she never wanted to go at all, and she realized that I was giving her a way out. I'd unlocked the door of the cell, and she was blaming me for that. So, why is it so hard to know we should let go of the past? This is one of the reasons why we have to make some associations. Associations that the past is not something you should be keeping. Unfortunately, in our culture, we always say, oh, you can learn from the past. People who don't remember history have to repeat history. And I think that's totally wrong, psychologically, socially, and philosophically. It's when we keep on remembering the history, then we keep on repeating it, not the other way around. And one of the reasons is because the type of history we remember It is really much the bad stuff, the things which went wrong. We do collect the dirty stuff, and we remember that, and we dwell upon that, we mull upon that, and that is one of the reasons that it keeps being repeated. Here we go again with prisoner stories. Every time those prisoners in jail I meet keep remembering their crimes, they're a criminal, they're a murderer. When they get released, they repeat those crimes. But when I come along and just forgive them, you're a person, you're not a criminal, you're not a murderer, you're a person, a man who made a mistake. But you're not that mistake, you're a person, a human being. You're not a killer, you're not a rapist, you're a human being, and I'm going to stand up for you that way. And I'm going to respect you, and they respect themselves. And because they respect themselves, they remember the other part of them. They don't really remember that past so much. They don't dwell upon it. Which means when they get released, they don't do those crimes anymore. Very basic psychology. That past should be let go of. For example, any of you have had a bad relationship. You've had a bad relationship. If you keep remembering that bad relationship, the next relationship you're going to have, it'll also be a bad one. You failed a test, and you tend to fail the next one as well. Say lack of confidence or whatever. There's something much deeper to it than that. That deeper part of it, we know in Buddhism, is making an identity of your past. This is who I think I am. I am the raped girl. I was talking to another poor girl who had been raped in her past. A beautiful girl in Malaysia, young, attractive, good looking, but she thought that no one could ever like her. And so obviously she didn't like herself at all because of what had happened. And it was very difficult for me to talk to her at length to try and allow her to let that one go, to move on, to actually to not to obsess with that. And obviously you can see what happens. That's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing to happen to a person. I'm not trying to diminish the cruelty and the terror and the pain of such an act. But nevertheless, if you keep on focusing on that, you are denying yourself a peaceful, happy, successful, joyful life. And you don't need to do that. Why is it? And I was telling her that, you didn't do this. Someone else did that to you. You never made any bad karma. It's not your fault. You haven't done anything wrong. But why is it that you punish yourself and you put yourself in that prison of the past? The door is open. Please walk out. So we have to associate, first of all, that is destroying our life. That is stopping us being happiness. Please don't celebrate the pain of the past and make that, who you think you are. I am the raped woman. I am the failure. I am the damaged goods. And I was trying to get people out of that, and I gave that simile just a couple of weeks ago. It's one of those similes. I keep doing these similes for 3 or 4 weeks until I find a better one. And that's a simile of the trees in the forest. If you go into a forest, all the trees will be crooked and bent, the bark scarred, branches hanging off. They're all damaged goods in the forest. Go out and see in the forest. Come, if you like, to Bodhinyana Monastery or the Nuns Monastery, Dhammasara. Try and if you can find a perfect tree or bush anywhere. There aren't such things. Every tree is damaged goods. That is why they are beautiful. I love saying that because the alternative, I was in Malaysia the last 12 days, and they have all these palm oil plantations and rubber tree plantations, and you walk through those, and all the trees are in lines and rows. They're well looked after. They're not scarred, except the rubber trees. But they're looked after, and it's ugly. No one wants to walk through a rubber plantation or go through a palm oil plantation and have a picnic there. And it's not natural. But you go into a natural forest, a piece of jungle or something in Malaysia, and it's beautiful. Vines all over the place, trees intertwined, just leaning this way and that way, quite a few on the ground. That is natural forest, and it's beautiful. And so I told this woman, and I tell everybody here, as I look in front of me, each one of you are damaged goods. Me too. That's what makes you beautiful. And the more damaged you are, the more of a beautiful tree you are in the forest. Go and check those trees. So number one, you don't need to sort of think this is something terrible so you don't like yourself. So, but we have to associate that negative memories to the past. We're actually adding this negativity to it. And that is sometimes what makes it difficult for us to leave alone and to let go of. So how about sort of putting something positive to it, to the past? You failed your exams. You didn't make it to university. You've been divorced. You've lost your job. You've lost a leg through cancer. All these things which happen to us. Sometimes we add negativity to these things, which means it's hard for us to forgive, let go and move on. Why don't we add a positive spin to these things? The other story I said was to lower your expectations, the 70% rule. Being a school teacher, setting an examination, I was told never set the examination to 100%. Don't make it too easy. If it was too easy, would you learn anything? Too hard, and then you get depressed. But you get it to 70%. If you do an examination, you get 70%. You realize that yes, you're actually doing something, you're successful. But the 30% where you fail, that is where you learn and grow and become beautiful, because nothing in life is 100%. It's all 70% is the best. So look at your past. If it's 70%, then well done, you have a beautiful past. Why not turn the shit into eggs? In other words, whatever's happened to you in the past, why not look in the positive side of it? Turn it round into something beautiful and good. So, today, you were caught by the police for speeding. What a wonderful thing that was. You should be celebrating that. Number one, you've increased the amount of money the police can spend keeping you safe at night. And number two, you've actually just got a big, what you might call it, incentive not to speed and kill yourself in the future, because speed does kill. I know several people, I've been to their funerals. One of the worst funerals I ever gave here was this poor, she was a Chinese girl, from mainland China. I will never forget this. It was really difficult for me because I felt really sort of devastated too. I'm sympathetic. I've got empathy for people. Chinese girl studying over here, managed to graduate and invited her parents. The one-child policy, she was the only child, invited her parents to migrate to Perth. And they'd only just come in maybe about a week. They couldn't speak any English, just Chinese. And she was walking down the street in Kelmscott on the Albany Highway. A drunk driver lost control of the car and smashed into her and killed her. And that was the parents' hope in life. They sacrificed everything, literally everything, to get their child a good education and to send her to Australia, to pay all her bills and fees. Now she was successful, and 1 or 2 weeks after coming here, the child had died for no fault of her own. A drunk driver speeding, lost control. It was just so sad. And every time I think about it, please, don't speed, don't get drunk. So if you were caught, drink driving or speeding, great. You probably saved a life. Thank you, Mr. Policeman, for catching me. Or What else might have happened? Young people, you may have been dumped by your girlfriend. What a wonderful thing that is. Now you can save some money over the next month. I remember this guy, his Thai mother comes every week to give us dana, and he got his first girlfriend, going out with her for a year, and he said he'd saved so much money just working in KFC or in Walmart, or no, I don't have Walmart, in whatever, in Woolworths, working there, trying to make a bit of money here, a bit of money, and he'd actually saved it up until he got a girlfriend, and then he came and he's all gone. But she dumped him so he can get some money again. So when you look at the things which you associate as being tragedies and give it a positive spin, then it's actually much easier to let go of. So everything which happened, you were cheated, you learn from it. And one of the other positive spins which people do in Buddhism, and it may be actually, it certainly works, and it may be true. We don't know if it is true or not, but it works, and people think, it may have been right. If, you get caught for speeding and you didn't do it, or you get cheated in business, or maybe your husband cheats in your marriage. Sometimes people in Buddhist cultures say, this is just payback. It must have been I did that in my previous life. Now it's coming back to me. Because that does happen, that you do wrong things in this life, and sometimes you don't get caught. And then maybe all those unfair things which happen to you in this life, all those terrible things which you can't let go of, maybe it is payback. I learned that from when I went to Carnot Prison Farm the first times, and this old guy, he's one of these old prisoners in and out of jail. He came up to me after one class, can I have a personal interview with you? Yes, sure. And he said, Ajahn Brahm, the crime for which I've been sentenced and am now in jail for, I did not do. I was innocent. And he said, I know that all the prisoners say that, but for you, I will not lie. I did not do that crime. I've been put in jail for something I never did. And I actually believed him, because sometimes you can look at a person's body language and you can understand the way they speak, and you can understand he actually was innocent. And so I also knew that in prisons it's very difficult for you to get the money to get a lawyer or even get telephone calls. So I was actually thinking of who I will call. I know a lot of lawyers. I can get someone on this case. It was a miscarriage of justice. And I've got a very strong sense of what's right and what's wrong. And if somebody else gets some injustice, I want to stand up for them and help them. So I was thinking of all the people I can call and contact to try and take on this guy's case and get him freed. And as I was thinking, he interrupted me and said, what I just told you is true. That robbery for which I was put in jail, I did not do. But there were so many other robberies where I wasn't caught that this is fair. And I thought, what a wonderful explanation of the law of karma and how we too can let go of the bad things which have happened to us. How many times do you say, oh, it was unfair. I should not have been passed over for that promotion. It was unfair. Why did someone steal my car? It was unfair. Why did that happen to me? Why? Maybe it is payback time. I often say this because sometimes people complain when they do get caught for speeding. They say, oh, gee, why did they get caught for speeding? Do you ever complain? Did you ever get upset when you are speeding and you don't get caught? That's really unfair. I was speeding today and I wasn't caught. That's unfair too, isn't it? But you can see that idea of like karma just working its way out, it means that a lot of times people can let go of some of the pain of the past. Yeah, and I need to learn from this. I need to understand what it's like, to lose a young son or a young daughter. I need to do this. I need to learn from it. It's part of my path. I need to grow from this. Even the rape. Why does these things happen? 2 weeks ago, there's a couple, I'm not sure if they're here tonight, they were sitting after the talk asking questions, and he was telling me about, he was in a group of people who have had a lot of trauma in their lives, and during the group there was one lady who had also been raped, and someone turned around, "Oh, I'm so sorry, that's a terrible thing which has happened to you." And this girl said, "No, I would not be the person I am today if that had never happened." She'd actually worked through it, passed on, and let it go. It brings me on to the second stage. Not that it should be, but it can be done. It's a wonderful thing to know that everything which has ever happened to you, no matter how bad or how terrible, it can be let go of. But letting go doesn't mean it disappears from your memory. It doesn't mean that how you can blot it out as if it never happened. What it means is you still remember it, but you remember it with a different spin. You remember it as part of you, an important part of who you are, a part which actually makes you who you are, which is part of your beauty, just like the tree which has been damaged in the forest is beautiful because of all the times its branches have been ripped off, because of the strong storms which have bent it over. Withstanding those storms and cyclones of life have made these trees wonderful to sit under and look at. We're actually taking the past and giving it a different spin. And then we embrace it. And then we have transcended. Letting go does not mean it disappears. Letting go means we let go of the negativity, the relationship, the reaction we have to the past. We can't blot out the past. We can't airbrush our enemies out like they used to do in communist Russia. Anyone who fell foul of the party, they got all the photographs of that person and they disappeared, they were vanished. You can't do that to your past. Your past is there, it's part of you. The way to let go and transcend and go forward is to change the attitude towards it. When you change the attitude towards it, then the problem is transcended. That is what the letting go truly is. And then once we've actually changed that, but how do we actually do that? A lot of times when you come to places like this, we always try and encourage people. It's not the world is a problem. It's not you the problem. It's the way we relate to the world. It's our attitudes towards the world. It's the way we react to things. Now that is where we can actually do things. We can't change the world, but we could certainly change the way we react to it. That's what we have power to do. Not even Obama has power to change the world. No wealthy person has that power. Yeah, they can nudge the world this way and nudge the world that way. But the thing we do have power to do, and this was fundamental to the teachings of the Buddha, was that the way we can react and relate to the difficulties and problems and also the happiness of life, the way we relate to it. Now that's something which we can control. Simple things. Someone calls you a pig. If they call you a pig, how do you react to that? Oink, oink, I say. You make fun of it. Someone reminded me of some of the old stories which I told a long time ago when I was last in Malaysia, or this particular part of Malaysia. I told them the story of years ago, travelling down Leach Highway, here in Perth. It was a hot summer's day where we didn't have any air conditioning in the cars, so we had our windows rolled down. And there I was, in a passenger seat of, I think, a combi van, and kids saw us, it must have been school holidays, 17, 18-year-old kids, having some fun. And as soon as they saw a combi van full of monks, you can imagine what they did next. But I was very impressed just with what actually they did. They were very innovative. When it came to a red light, they pulled right alongside me. Their window was open, my window was open. They shouted at me, "Hey, have a look." And I turned around, and what they had was an open copy of Playboy magazine. And I can never forget this young guy's face. His mouth was open, pointed to it, trying to get me to look at the Playboy magazine. It's just a kid having fun. Now, sometimes you get upset and angry at that, or you get embarrassed. Not me. I just laugh. Well done. You made a good fun. Good on you. But I must just say, I did not look. I'm a good monk. And if you want to ask me, well, how did you know it was Playboy magazine? One of the other people in the car told me. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. They were just trying to wind you up and make you upset. That's all they was doing. So I couldn't stop them doing things like that, because I would do the same when I was that age. But what I can do is actually change my attitude and join in a funny situation and laugh instead of getting upset. That's why a piece of advice I learned at school when I was a teacher: if you make a mistake, do something wrong, and the whole class laughs, you laugh as well. Then the world never laughs at you, it only laughs with you. In the office, if you do a stupid thing, then you laugh as well. That's why any stupid act which I do, and I do quite a few, if I do something stupid, I tell everybody about it. Because when I tell the stupid things which I have done as a monk, then you laugh. So I'm making you happy. I'm being compassionate and kind. So if you've done a stupid thing in your life, please let me know and I'll read it out. And it makes so many people laugh. It's good for their health and happiness. So it's not doing things wrong. It's just the relationship you have to the faults of the past and also the faults of others. Because a lot of times what we do, sometimes it's hard to let go of, but we can do it. But what other people do to us, sometimes we find it so difficult to let go of how we've been hurt, mistreated. Okay, call it the law of karma. You had to learn this because probably you did the same in the previous life. You've been cheated by a builder. Probably in your last life you were a builder and you did the same to somebody else. Okay, payback time. So you've got to learn, okay. So that may not be true, but it's certainly helpful. No, people actually say in Thailand, if you've been robbed, somebody has actually stolen something from your house, it must be payback because you robbed in the past. So now it's all balancing out. At least it works. You don't know whether it's true or not, but at least it's a beautiful idea, which means, okay, I can let it go. But why is it the case that someone has hurt you, they cheated you, they didn't treat you right? Why does everybody else say, just let it go? But you can't. Why does it sound so easy for other people to tell you, you can't do it yourself? And this is where I'm extending another simile, which I've been teaching in Malaysia, which I've taught here before. The difference between being a visitor and an owner. Again, Ajahn, I've lost my stick now, it's over there somewhere. Okay, can I have the stick back again? Thank you. The only reason why the stick is heavy, because you own it. It's my stick. If it's my stick, I can't let it go. I try and throw it away, it won't go because it's my stick. But if it's not my stick, it just belongs to the Buddhist Society. It's not mine, I can throw it away again. You don't need to pick it up this time. That is why I was telling this poor lady, she was running a retreat center she probably listened to this I better not say where. She was running a retreat center and also a Buddhist center over in Malaysia somewhere. She was working so hard. And I told her, look, you have to learn how to be a visitor, not an owner. The simile which I developed when I work here on the weekends, and after the weekend is finished, I go to Bodhinyana Monastery and work there. I'm the abbot there, I'm the teacher here, no rest, always working. And when people come to Bodhinyana Monastery, you're relaxed because you're having a good time. You see how beautiful it is. You can meditate, you can do whatever you want. But me, I've got to sit there and answer all your stupid questions and just do all these ceremonies and look after the monks and work and blah, blah, blah. I realized it was such a lot of hard work, 7 days a week. And when people said, what a beautiful, peaceful monastery you have, I could not believe them. What do you mean, peaceful and beautiful? Look at all the work needs to be done. And I realized that I was missing out. I was missing out on the beauty and peace of the monastery where I lived. So I decided, usually every Monday morning, to pretend to be a visitor. Just to pretend. So Monday morning, I'd walk around the monastery. I was not abbot anymore. Someone came to ask, Ajahn Brahm, can I ask about my meditation? Sorry, I'm only visiting. Something needed to be done? No, sorry, I'm only visiting. Because it's true, you visit someone else's home. You know, you go and visit your friend. Do you ever wash their dishes for them? You go in somebody's home and say, oh, can I wash your dishes for you? Can I sort of, mow the lawn for you? Can I sort of, vacuum the car? You don't do that. It's not your job. It's their place. So have you noticed when you visit other people's homes, you can let go and relax? But in your home, you can't? Have you noticed you come to this place because you don't own it? The poor committee, I don't know where they've gone. I think they've got to take a rest. They're just escaped because they own this place. So that's always a place of work for them. They can't just hang out. You can. That's why you can only relax in places you don't own. So I've extended that. So please do that. If you're stressing out, a couple of hours every week. I thought I told this many times. You're paying so much attention. I must have missed this little simile out. Please, once a week, in your own house, spend 2 hours pretending to be a visitor. And look at your house with the eyes of a visitor. Enjoy its amenities as a visitor would. And don't be the owner, and then you can let it go and have a lot of fun. Now, where that story is going is actually with your past and your mind. Look at your mind like you're a visitor. You don't own it. You're just visiting like you were visiting somebody else's mind. It's so easy to tell other people to let go. If you're a visitor, then you can let go too of all of that past. It's only when you think you're an owner, it's so difficult to let go. That is the fundamental reason why we cannot let go of the painful shit of the past. Because we've taken ownership of it. It's mine, it's ours, it's who I am, and I won't let anyone take that away. It's amazing we own this stuff. This is where being a visitor, and it's lovely in Buddhism being a visitor. You're only a visitor to this body for 60, 70, 80 years, and then you let it go. You don't own it. If you think you own your body, go to Karakata Cemetery and look at all those other people who thought they owned their bodies. They're gone. You only visit this body for 60, 70 years, maybe more, maybe less. It's not yours. Remember that. And then you can have much more fun with your body. It's not mine, I'm just visiting. You don't have to brush your teeth. You don't have to you don't have to brush your hair. That's not my body, I'm just visiting. I'm relaxing. But about your mind, I'm just visiting my mind. The same thing, I don't own it. Mind, you do whatever you want. I often say that to people meditating. I tell them, just let your mind be. You don't own it. Whatever it wants to do, you can do it. It's amazing how peaceful and free people become when they don't own their mind. They've got no business anymore. They're not trying to, like my monastery, make it beautiful, make it comfortable, make more huts, bigger rooms, bigger halls, bigger this. When you don't own it, you're free. You know, that's one of the reasons I like going overseas. I like visiting other people's temples so that I can relax. It's true. So how about looking at your mind, pretending you're visiting somebody else's mind? Pretend. Then it's so easy to let go of the past. Just like you tell others to do. Oh, it doesn't matter what they did. You know, give them the benefit of the doubt. You don't know what they did or why they did it. They probably had their reasons. There's always two sides to one story. And actually, people actually reminded me of this. There's an old saying I said, which was very profound. I forget many of these sayings, but sometimes it really hits the mark with somebody, and they remember it. He said, doesn't matter how thinly you slice something, it always has two sides. Nice little saying. Does not matter how thinly you slice something, it still has two sides. Doesn't matter how much you investigate and try and find out the truth always has two sides as well. Isn't that beautiful to understand? We always think, no, the truth is one, it only has one side. But in reality, it has two sides. My side and your side. And that's always going to be the case. Which means that we can't say, you are wrong, I am right. You know, I am wrong, you are right, or whatever. No, it's always those two sides. So give other people the benefit of the doubt. Why they did that, I can't understand, but they must have had a reason. They're not bad people, so okay, I'll accept that that just happened. So it's very easy for me to say that to you. But when I think of all the people who have hurt me, all those terrible people who made my life a misery, all those people who let their mobile phones ring during the meditation. Ooh. No, for goodness sake. You know, when you start thinking like that, give them the benefit of the doubt. And as a visitor, I can let that go. As an owner, it's difficult. That's why, sometimes people think I'm the spiritual dictator of the Buddhist Society of West Australia. My title is spiritual director. That was just a joke, spiritual dictator. You don't do that. You don't own anything. When you don't own anything, it's amazing just how you can let things be and let things go. Have you got a boss at work who's a pain in the neck and every other part of your body as well? Who always thinks he owns and controls everything, or she. Okay, you all say, yes, I know that person. Isn't it great when you don't own anything? I asked Venerable Chundo that I'm one of these abbots who doesn't control much at all. And one reason, because I'm hardly there in monastery. But it runs okay, things get done. And just, these monks decide what to be done, and just it runs really smoothly. Because you're not a strong control freak. I don't own any monk. I don't own you. I would never tell you what to do. I'm not like some Pope who says, bad, you're moving during my talk. Don't do that ever again. I never do things like that because you're not an owner. I'm only a visitor to this place. I'm only a visitor to this world. I don't own it, so I can enjoy it. I'm only a visitor to the past when I think about it. I don't own it, so I can let it go. And I can enjoy it like any other visitor. If you're a visitor to a country, you can choose what part of that country to go to. You can go to the mountains, you can go to the rivers and the streams, or the ocean side. Or you can go to the nuclear waste dump. When you visit Japan, you've got a choice. Go to Fukushima or go to some beautiful old Buddhist temple. Where would you like to go if you visit Japan? to the site of the nuclear reactor disaster, or to some beautiful exotic Buddhist temple? Where would you like to go? When you go out for dinner tonight, would you like to go to a beautiful restaurant or go to the dumpster at the back of Woolworths? Where would you like? You've got a choice as a visitor. So you have a choice as a visitor to your past what you want to pick up. You can enjoy rather than always owning stuff. So learning how to let go is learning how to stop being an owner of your past, only being a visitor. Then you can enjoy things much, much, much better. You don't have to keep fixing things up. That's one of the problems with people. Always fixing things up. The past, fixing it up. Trying to solve the problems. The future, fixing up the future. Have you ever noticed the more you try to fix up the future, the more of a mess you make? Just leave it alone. It's much better. In Malaysia, I was visiting this retreat centre, only 7 acres. They said, how big is your retreat centre? In Australia? 140 acres, Jhana Grove. 140 acres! It takes us all our time to look after 7 acres. How on earth do you maintain the grounds? We don't. Just we let it go and nature looks after it. Nature is so good. When we don't get involved, nature makes a much better job. Look at King's Park. I mean, okay, it's got grassy areas. It may look nice if you like that sort of stuff. But imagine real forest. Which would you prefer? The manicured lawns of the golf club? Or the messy, there's actually no lawns at all. We did have a lawn once in front of the hall, but it's all weedy now. Which would you prefer? Nature or things which are manicured? What type of girl would you like to go out with? One who's manicured, one who's nature? So whenever you mess around with things, you usually actually make it worse, I'm saying. Actually you do, don't you? So a lot of times you just let it be. And that way you're not a control freak. You can let things be. And the same with the past. So don't control it anymore. Just let it be. And next to my seat in Bodhinyana Monastery, I've got a little card. Here's my management guru. Whenever I've got a problem in the monastery with managing the monks or managing the place, I always look at this. And many of you, my age will remember this management guru from the 60s. He was an officer in a fictional POW camp in Germany in this TV series Hogan's Heroes. He was my mentor and inspiration, Sergeant Schultz. And whenever he saw the POWs in this TV series going off to the pub to have a beer, he's supposed to be guarding them. He put his hand over his eyes and say, I see nothing, I see nothing, I see... That's my management practice. And that's how I look at the past. If it's painful part of the past, I see nothing, I remember nothing. It's not denial, it's just not picking up the shit. Let it go. Stop being a control freak. I don't own anything. The monks will do what they want to do. They're in control of their lives. You do what you want to do. You're in control of your lives. Good karma, bad karma. It's up to you. People have hurt you. If they've hurt you, they've done bad things, they're going to have bad karma comes up, unfortunately. You don't have to worry about it at all. You can all let it go. Because you don't own other people. You don't own your past. You're just a visitor when you think about it. You're visiting this great well, which is the further apart away it is from the present, the deeper that well is, and the harder it is to see what really happened. Give people benefit of the doubt, let it go. Don't own the past. Visit it from time to time, but don't own it. Let it go, and then you can enjoy. So those are just a few reflections on why it is that people keep having keep stopping themselves enjoying this present moment, enjoying their life, enjoying today, because they're still holding on to the pain of the past. Please leave that prison. It can be done, it should be done. Many people do it. You can too. Thank you. Very good. So, any comments or questions about this off-the-cuff talk, as usual, on letting go of the past? Great, we've got a young guy who's got the microphone so he can rush around. Anyone who puts their hands up. But first of all, we have 3 questions here. First of all, from the Netherlands. If something very bad is done to you, a lot of emotions are involved. How to let those emotions not get in the way of healing? Okay, a lot of those emotions are what is imposed upon you by your culture. Just like grief. When somebody says, oh, my father died today. You say, oh, you poor thing, I'm terribly sorry, my condolences. Your father may have been a monster. Not condolences, yes. Personal. 2 years ago, no, a year and a half ago, my mother died. And when people found out, I said, I'm terribly sorry to hear, Ajahn Brahm, your mother died. I said, what do you mean? Did you really know what my mother was experiencing? She had dementia for 3 years. Her death was a release. I was actually very happy she was now free. So why do we have this emotional reaction to things which is culturally imposed upon us without thinking? Someone died, said, oh, that must be terrible. Is it? A lot of times I like challenging these cultural norms. So that actually gives you the emotions. I remember when my father did die, my mother was coping really well until her sister-in-law hugged her and said, oh, you poor thing. And then she broke down. And I knew my mother, she was actually doing what she was expected to do. She never felt the grief. But she was expected to cry, and she did. So a lot of times the emotions, you've gone to jail, oh, that must be terrible. Why? You may have a great experience there. Or like something really bad, like being raped. What do I know about being raped? I'm a boy, never been raped. But you ask these people, they say, no, don't say that's a terrible thing. As that person told me about his friend. She said, no, I wouldn't be who I was without that. What we do, we're also taking away the emotional prison, the emotions which you are expected to have with these events in life, which are supposed to be very hard. Have your own emotions, not the ones expected of you by society. And if you can do that, then you can become free. When people keep saying, oh, that must be terrible, please don't do that to people. Oh, that must be terrible what you've been through. That must be terrible. That makes me feel terrible. You know, it's probably happened to you. This is, once I trod on a nail when I was walking on arms round in Thailand, and it went about a couple of inches into my foot. It didn't hurt until the monk with me said, oh, that's terrible. And then it started hurting. And I remember that. You know that happens. I say, oh, that must really hurt. And you look at it, it does. So be careful how we impose emotions on other people by the way we expect them to feel. And we tell them to feel that way. So I don't know what's been done to you, but sometimes I'm quite courageous. When someone says they've been raped, I say, very good. And they're just stunned. What do you mean? Have you got no sympathy? I have got sympathy. That's why I give you the freedom to look at it in another way. Not always imposing the same emotional reaction to the things which happen to us in life. That's why even today, you've been done for speeding. Oh, that's bad luck. No, it's good luck. Well done. You've been caught for speeding today. It may have saved your life next week. You can see how you can turn things around. And so, Joe, check those emotions. Are they really your emotions, or have they been imposed upon you by society, what other people expect of you? then you can find you can let go of those emotions. Anyway, that's a big one, but that's one way to let go of those emotions surrounding something which has happened to you. Straight away, when you say something very bad, straight away when you say very bad, it creates those emotions. Is it bad? I won't tell that story now, but you know the king cutting his finger, the good, bad, who knows story. He lost his finger. Was it a bad thing? The doctor kept saying, good, bad, who knows? If you don't know that story, you haven't been coming for this year, because I said that about 6 or 7 times, I'm sure. Anyway, question 2 from Perth. Ajahn, I would like to let go of my painful past, but always I have flashbacks of past memories that I cannot control. They cause me great distress. What do you suggest? You cannot control the flashbacks, but you can control the great distress. Let those flashbacks come. Look upon them in a different way. Change your attitude to the flashbacks. No, not fear. Straight away when you try and get rid of the flashbacks, it creates sort of the sense of I don't want these, and gives them the idea they're bad. These are coming to teach you. They're coming to let you understand what had happened. They don't need to be looked upon as great distress. It can be looked upon as other ways. It could be looked upon like growing pains. I like the term growing pains because pain is sometimes associated with growth. Or that simile that in the northern hemisphere during winter time, everything seems dead. There seems to be no life, no hope, no beauty. All the leaves have left the trees. There's not even a bud on the trees. There's no flowers. And you think it's all dead, but everybody knows that the seeds are underground, just waiting for the warmth and the first rain, and it comes to life again. Amazing thing to see. So, sometimes in the death, there's always this promise of beauty in life. In the pain, as somebody said, there's a flower just before it buds. It must be very painful. You've got all these petals just growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger. And the container, this outer layer of leaves of a flower bud, is straining and straining. There must be so much power inside that, so much pain and stress, and then suddenly it bursts and then you've got a flower. The pain of actually giving birth to a child. So much pain, and then this incredible being comes out. It's wonderful. So sometimes you can associate that pain as a precursor of something beautiful, the winter before the spring, the growing pains of life. So allow that pain to come up, but don't look upon it as a negative way. Change the spin of how you regard those flashbacks. They're teaching you something. It's important to you, making you who you are. They are the scars on the tree which make it beautiful. Let it come up. And anyway, Ajahn Brahm, I used to have a very good life, but now my life is difficult. I keep on remembering the good times and feel desperate now. What should I do? Okay, just life is difficult. This is where you're learning. This is the shit of life which needs to be dug in for fertilizer to grow the trees. You know, that truckload of dung simile. Whenever life is difficult, that's why I said the truckload of dung. You know, that was actually the title of Opening the Door of Your Heart in the American version. Actually, we're just about to finish book number 2, and we're talking in Bodhinyana Monastery the other day of what should we call it, and say another truck of dung. Or here comes the dung again, or something, looking for new titles. But if life is difficult, this is where you learn. The good times you had before were the result of you having lots of difficulties before that, which you dug in. You grew your garden. Now the garden is died, the end of the season. Winter has come again for you from Melbourne. Now's the time to start digging in the garden, preparing, and it will grow again. When life is difficult, that's where we work. That is the fertilizer. If life was always easy, if it wasn't any difficulty, we would never learn anything in life, we would never grow. So the question from Melbourne, life is difficult, great, well done. A marvellous thing which is happening to you. This is where you're learning. And so stop complaining about the difficulty. dig it in, learn and grow from the difficulties of life. That's the truckload of dung which you have to dig into your garden from Melbourne. Dig and dig and dig. And you know you get a beautiful garden in the back there from all the difficulties you have now. Complaining about it in that simile is putting the dung in your pockets, in your bags, up your shirts and down your trousers. If you carry around dung with you, you find, you lose a lot of friends. Because you complain and you're negative. Unfortunately, that people don't like being around such people. But instead, you've got to dig all that dung in. You're having a difficult time right now, dig it in, and you know that the garden will grow. Okay, hopefully I answered those questions okay, but it's difficult when it's only just a couple of lines on this tablet, whether I really understood the question or not. So if anybody, especially putting in questions from overseas, they don't get the correct answer, I do apologise, but I'm trying my best. So any questions from the floor here in Perth? You got one? No, anyone? Going. So the question is, can we go now? Yeah, and the answer is okay. So thank you all for listening today. Again, I've just been travelling. I only came back from Malaysia this afternoon, so a little bit sort of tired, but hopefully the talk went okay. But now we can pay respects to the Buddha, the Dhamma, Sangha, and